Synonyms: Jnana, or scriptural knowledge; Vijnana, the application; Yogena, by means of mystic yoga; Karmanam, of material actions; Uddharana, uprooting; Jata, the roots; Hiranyakesha, golden hair; Padmaksha, lotus eye; Padmamudra, marked with the sign of the lotus; Padambaja, having lotus feet. Translation: by mystic yoga and the practical application of knowledge from the scriptures, Kapila Muni, who is characterized by his golden hair, his eyes just like lotus petals, and his lotus feet, which bear the marks of lotus flowers, will uproot the deep-rooted desire for work in this material world. Purport: in this verse, the activities and bodily features of Kapila Muni are very nicely described. The activities of Kapila Muni are forecast herein. He will present the philosophy of Sankhya in such a way that by studying his philosophy, people will be able to uproot the deep-rooted desire for karma, fruitive activities. Everyone in this material world engages in achieving the fruits of his labor. A man tries to be happy by achieving the fruits of his own honest labor, but actually he becomes more and more entangled. One cannot get out of this entanglement unless he has perfect knowledge or devotional service. Those who are trying to get out of the entanglement by speculation are also doing their best. But in the Vedic scriptures, we find that if one has taken to devotional service of Lord in Krishna consciousness, he can very easily uproot the deep-rooted desire for fruitive activities. Sankhya philosophy will be broadcast by Kapila Muni for that purpose. His bodily features are also described herein. Jnana does not refer to ordinary research work. Jnana entails receiving knowledge from the scriptures through the spiritual master by disciplic succession. In the modern age, there is a tendency to do research by mental speculation and concoction. But the man who speculates forgets that he himself is subject to the 4 defects of nature. He's sure to commit mistakes. His senses are imperfect. He's sure to fall into illusion, and he is cheating. Unless one has perfect knowledge from disciplic succession, he simply puts forth some theories of his own creation. Therefore, he is cheating people. Jnana means knowledge received through disciplic succession from the scriptures, and Vijnana means practical application of such knowledge. Kapila Muni's Sankhya system of philosophy is based on Jnana and Vijnana. Hare Krishna. We'll chant the Mangala Charan prayers. If you know it, please join in. Om Ajnantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajipam Satvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenbandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishnabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namne. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Prinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you once again for joining this. As I was chanting the Mangala Charan prayer, a thought came into my mind as I was chanting the Mahamantra. And the Acharyas do mention that, Mahamantra is Krishna himself. All his energies are invested in just these Mahamantra, Hare Krishna and Rama, and the 16 words, the way it's arranged. So if we are able to chant it purely, Shuddh, without any mixture of anything, everything is revealed. Knowledge, realization, pastimes, everything. And the whole purpose of sadhana, whatever we are doing, we are reading, we chant a minimum number of rounds, the niyama, the do's, the don'ts, everything is basically so that we can chant properly. Hare Krishna. So today we are going to be reading about Lord Kapiladev's Sankhya philosophy, an overview of Sankhya philosophy. And of course, based on, the purport itself is so self-explanatory. And then to prepare for this class, I listened to a lecture by His Holiness Romapad Swami Maharaj, all glories to his lotus feet, and the ISKCON Education Ministry. Hare Krishna. So what we'll do is two things. One is the appearance of Lord Kapiladev and the, why. Why did Lord, what was the reason why he came here and what his goal was? The avatar. He's one of the avatar, that. And then the Sankhya philosophy, its overview and how it is connected to bhakti. Of course, there's another Sankhya, which is totally atheistic and very similar. It's very similar to Kapil Muni's Sankhya philosophy. So we'll understand first what is Sankhya, the similarities between the atheist and the theist, Kapil Muni's Sankhya, and then how Kapil Muni's Sankhya is the higher school of thought because it's connected to bhakti and how it is connected to bhakti. Hare Krishna. So we know that Devahuti's marriage with Kardama Muni, and then Kardama Muni says, yes, then after we beget children, he has taken a vow, I'm going to leave the ashram and move on towards, his self-realization. Mother Devahuti has served him so diligently with so much love and so much care, so much so that she becomes completely emaciated, a queen, a princess from the luxuries of the palace comes into a small little kutir, and that's where she is serving him. And then she desires to have children, and Kardama Muni fulfills that desire, we know that. and they have 9 daughters. And then he says, it's time for me to go. And she says, who will be looking after me, because the girls all married. He says, okay. And then they beget another son. So Lord Kapilade, who is no other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, Mother Devahuti and Kardama Muni, they have a union. And that's how Kapila Dev appears on this earth at that time. And he tells her, she says, you're leaving, but at least what about me? You know, I have only been serving you. What about my spiritual perfection? She's a yogi, Mataji. Perfection in yoga she has. She's saying, but what about my spiritual perfection? So he says that, fine, in your womb, you're carrying a child, a son, Kapila Dev, and he will deliver you. And this Lord Brahma, her father-in-law, her grandfather-in-law, he says that, yes, Kapila Dev is in the womb of Devahuti, and he'll deliver her. Now, how that deliverance is going to happen, this verse is the segue. It gives a kind of a hint. And of course, there are, in the other chapters, the teachings of Lord Kapila Dev, it'll get into great detail. So we need to understand a couple of things. The Lord's appearance is unlike ours, humans, or any other living entity who appears here, who takes birth on this material planet. Now, in this material world, there is birth, and wherever there is birth, there is death. Whoever takes birth will die. And between this birth and death, there is old age and disease. Now it seems that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has appeared, and here it is, exactly like how we humans, the father and the mother, they get together, and then there is the conception happens, and there's a gestation period, and then there is the delivery of the child. Now, here it is said in the Bhagavatam that the Lord, through the semen of Kardama Muni, appears in the womb of Mother Devahuti. So, how is that any different than us? The difference is that the Lord always appears as per his will, whereas when we have to take birth, it is almost forced upon us. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. We can't select who our parents are. We can't select that. It is based on whatever karmic activities that we have performed in our previous lifetimes. Yeah. So keep this in mind. His appearance is always as per his will. Another point is that the Lord, whether he is an infant or whether he is a small boy, Damodar, or whether he is a Kishora, a young a teenager, he is always the Lord. His potencies are invested 100%. It doesn't diminish. Like you see, a small child is quite incapable. A newborn can't even lift his head. Yeah, can't even roll to the side. But the Lord is Lord and always, So his appearance is always as per his will. This is the first thing to remember. And then in Bhagavad Gita, he says why he appears. It is for his pleasure and to give pleasure to his devotees. Paritranaya sadhunam, that shloka, right? To give association to the devotees and to destroy whatever is the demoniac mentality, which starts getting to be more and more, when the masses are turning away. That's when he comes and he vanquishes that mentality and reestablishes dharma. Yeah. So this is a brief introduction to the appearance of Lord Kapila Dev, but always keep this in mind. His appearance is as per his will, and why he appears: to give association to his devotees, to vanquish the demoniac mentality, and re-establish dharma. Hare Krishna. So, what is Sankhya philosophy? Sankhya, a Sanskrit word for number or count, to keep a count of. Yeah, all of us have numbers: driving license number, social security number. When we were in school, you had a roll number, year number, wo number, everything number. You live in a house, it has a number, street number. You drive a car, you have a license plate number, number. Everywhere there are numbers. Okay. Now, numbers are a form of identification, correct? So, like your social security number is unique to you. You know, even your own child or your family member will have a different SSN. So, number. So, what this is, the Sankhya philosophy. Yeah, it's a school of thought. So, what they have done is, they count, so to say, they distinguish or delineate existence. What's there in existence? Now, in existence, there is matter and there is spirit. There are these two things in existence. So, the atheistic Sankhya philosophy, it says that, okay, this is matter and this is spirit, and this is the correlation. So, they have these 24 material elements and one spirit soul. However, it is incomplete. It is incomplete. Why is it incomplete? Because it doesn't speak about the super soul, the source of everything. Brahma Samhita, Sarva Karana Karanam, Ishwar Parama Krishna, right? Sarva Karana Karanam, the causeless cause of all causes. So, how can whatever we have arrived at be correct if that source itself is completely ignored? We are trying to understand kya hai, but we just don't go to that source, so it remains incomplete. So Kapila Muni, he showed how matter and spirit originate from the supreme form. So not only he goes into great detail of these 24 elements, but how, why, when, where, the spirit soul 25, and the super soul. Correct. So here you have these description of the pradhan senses, gross elements, knowledge acquiring, working senses, plus Atma and Paramatma. So the atheistic ends at the Atma, but then we have the Paramatma. So this is the overview of Sankhya philosophy. Now, how it is connected to bhakti. So Romapad Swami was mentioning there are different yugas. We have the four cycles, right? From Satya to Kali Yuga. So in each yuga, there is a recommended process by which we can achieve spiritual perfection. So meditation. Now, what is meditation? You have to meditate on something. There is not that, oh, I'm meditating on nothing. That's a misnomer, meditating on nothing. So meditation requires knowledge called Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha means to have the relation. So you need to have knowledge about whatever you're meditating on. Now, when this meditation is done properly, it leads to realization. And that realization is to serve the object of the knowledge, that is the Supreme Lord. What is service to Krishna called? Bhakti, Seva, loving devotional service. Three words. What is bhakti? Love, devotion, and service. So if we understand these three words, love is always giving. It's not expecting anything in return. Love is always giving. Devotion, full absorption. That's it. Only the object of my devotion, nothing else. Exclusive, loving, devotional service. Services, activities, thought, words, deeds. Service is the platform from which we can express our love and through which that love is felt by the object of our love. So these three things are very important for bhakti. So serving him is bhakti. And other than bhakti, Maharaj says that no other process is sustainable. You could get to a certain stage, however, because our mind in this conditioned state is always influenced by the three modes of material nature, it will force us to act in a fruitive manner. Fruitive manner is nothing but इसमें मेरा क्या फायदा है? I do this, I get that. I do this, I get that. My Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Swami says, the only, like love is the only thing which is not fruitive. It is pure. Of course, in the material world, the same love gets stirred with these gunas, mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness. When it gets mixed with this, it transforms into lust. Lust is nothing but a strong, intense desire for sense gratification, for the self. So, the closest in the material world, love, a person can experience love, is that between mother and child. That's the closest to the spiritual love which is up there. Rest everything, of course, we love, but there is that mishra of khud ka self. Yeah. So what happens is this mind gets influenced. That's the nature. You can't help it. And it will push us into this fruitive activities, carrot and stick. We all work crazy to get stuff, sense gratification, whatever that we're doing. However, only bhakti and bhakti alone has the power to completely destroy, because it's above the material modes. Yeah. So what happens in bhakti? The mind gets fixed on Krishna and the intelligence is focused on serving him. Now, the key point here, as Prabhupada has put in the purport, is knowledge. Knowledge is means to know, correct? Very simple put. But know what? So to know what, you need to know the proper information, disciplic succession, and Vigyan is putting it into practice. What happens is, if we do research and if we try to figure out, how is it like this, how is it like that, the ascending way of acquiring knowledge. There are the three types of acquiring knowledge: Shabda Praman, Anuman, and Pratyaksha, through experience, through deduction, and by hearing. Descending is the best. Why? Because it's perfect, it's coming. It's beyond these four defects that we have. Hare Krishna. In one of the WhatsApp groups, someone had posted this picture, and I found it very, very significant. This is the state that we have. This is the state of, this is our condition of, फंसे हैं ये संसार में. So everything we're carrying in our heads, all these thoughts, these great plans for sense gratification, these great plans for eating, sleeping, mating, defending, these great, all the misgivings, all the negative thoughts, all the positive thoughts that we have, everything, we're carrying it in our head like this, and we're going about our life. So we're dragging it behind. It's like this picture where they're shown such a big head is put on one cart and we're dragging all this behind. And imagine, they say bend over backwards. The natural state, if you see, is to bend forward. It's easier to bend forward than to bend backward. You bend backward, you could break your spine. How much backward can you go? Of course, there are gymnasts and all that. But, that's not really the natural situation. How much more easy it is to bend forward. Bend forward, matlab kya? Offer your obeisance. So easy it is. We come into the temple, you offer your obeisance, bend forward. Yeah. You bend your head when we greet someone, Namaste, Hare Krishna. So easy it is, but putting it behind. So that's what, that thing raising your head is like a hankar. All these things are filled in our head. So how do you lighten the burden? How do we, these thoughts that we have in our mind, how do we do a brainwash, so to say, to cleanse everything and make it in its original state? Heaviest burdens that we carry are the thoughts in the head, unless the mind is absorbed in bhakti. Knowledge of Krishna, jnana. Knowledge of Krishna coming in the disciplic succession absorbs the mind on Krishna. When the mind is absorbed in Krishna, it gets purified. Maharaja said, Romapad Swami, it gets purified and intelligence is illuminated. Right now, intelligence is quite dark. We may be very sharp in terms of grasping, understand things and all that, but means nothing. So it gets illuminated. Then Vigyan, then when we act on that knowledge, we are actually on the platform of the soul, who we are. Otherwise, we are just, bodily. Therefore, there's the injunction, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we have 1 or 2 minutes, Prabhu's Mataji. If you have a comment or a question, we can take it, or you could put it in Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya. Hari Bol. Okay, Madhupati Prabhu, over to you.
Hari Bol, thank you, Amitabh Prabhu. I'd like to wish everybody a safe and Krishna conscious day ahead. And we'd like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Hare Hare,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna, Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare.
Nrsingo Jai, Nrsingo Jai, Jai Nrsingo.
Jai Nrsinga, Jai Jai Nrsinga,
Radesha Jai,
Praladesha,
Padma
Jai
Purvam,
Padma Mukha Padma Bhringam,
Bhringa, Ugravira
Ugravira
Mahavishnu,
Mahavishnu
Sarvatokam,
Jalantam
Narsingam,
Sarvatomukham
Vishanam, Bhadram,
Nrsinga
Mrityam,
Bhishanam
Mrityam,
Bhadram
Namamyaham.
Mrityam Mrityam Namamyaham.
Nrsinga Bhagwan ki Jai, Prahlad
Jai
Maharaj ki
Jai.
Jai. Let's offer our humble obeisances to all the Samal Vaishnavas. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande Hari.
Hare Bol. Thank you, Amritanand.
Everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, everybody.
Hare
Hari Bol.
Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.